American workers, I mean, just getting fleeced at every single turn. And I saw this story and I wanted to share it with y'all just to show how far behind America is when it comes to workers' rights and actually providing a decent living for the workers around this country. So check this out. Spain is set to test a 4-day work week that would give workers 32-hour weeks with no reduction in pay. The government will cover some of the costs for interested companies. Advocates say it could improve mental health and productivity and lead to a better work-life balance. So in this country, in America, we have companies that will short you 40 hours a week. They'll give you 32 hours, sometimes even up to like 38.5, something really close to 40 hours a week, just to avoid paying you benefits that you deserve as a worker, like healthcare or paid sick leave. It's just anything that someone working a full-time job gets. But in Spain, they're going to be testing out a 32-hour, 4-day work week with no reduction in pay. But that's what we get here in this country. We get companies that want to short you your benefits just because you work 2 less hours. I mean, dude, I just really want workers to understand like how bad workers have it here in this country. And it is not like that everywhere else. So you don't have to just sit there and take it. You really don't. And nor is it normal or just the way things are. No, it's crafted that way. It's specifically crafted that way to ensure that a certain group of people make a lot of money, and they make that money off the backs of the people that are actually producing the labor, right? So when you work at McDonald's and you make less than a number 10, what a number 10 costs, you make less than that an hour, right? Think about how many of those you're producing, how many of those orders you're fulfilling. So that CEO of McDonald's or of, what Walmart or whoever else, they're making a lot of money paying you nothing, right? And you're doing all the work. Now they had the capital and, they maybe even had the idea, but that doesn't mean they're worth $100 billion. In the Walmart family, over $200 billion. That means they have more money than you could probably spend, even if you wanted to spend all of it, than you could spend in lifetimes. Like that's how much money they have. And they're making it all on the backs of workers. And just to show y'all that it's not like this everywhere else, in Nordic countries, which is like Finland, Sweden, Denmark, they don't even have a minimum wage. None of the Nordic countries has a statutory minimum wage. Denmark and Sweden use collective agreements as their only mechanism for seeing minimum wages, while Finland, Iceland, and Norway have also started to use extension mechanisms to cover all workers at industry level. So they don't even have a minimum wage. They have unions. Everyone's in a union, and those unions collectively bargain the labor of the people within that union with the people who own the companies, the corporations, or whatever. And they bargain, say, look, we're not going to show up to work unless y'all pay us a decent living wage. And in that sense, they don't even need a minimum wage, let alone like ours is obviously $7.25. Theirs, in Denmark, they pay up to 40 on average. An average salary in Denmark pays up to $43 European dollars, which is similar to US dollars, and it might actually be less. An hour in 2018. That's what they were making. That's the highest in the EU. And the lowest salaries they can be expected to make is around $15 an hour. I mean, they've been there for a while. We are still fighting, even though all workers agree that their wages need to be increased. They can't live. A lot of times they have to have 2 jobs working minimum wage jobs. So it's widely understood by the people, the actual people doing the labor, right, that these wages are much, much, much too low. Why don't we get that? Because we live in a corrupt oligarchy. That's why. I think it was 8 or 9 Americans, 8 or 9 out of 10 Americans believe that the minimum wage is too low, and 2/3 of them believe that the minimum wage should be $15 an hour. So why don't you have it? Why don't you have it when super majority of the country believes that? Because we live in a corrupt oligarchy, and those same companies that have an interest in keeping your wage at $7.25 or $8 or $9, even though your hour of labor is worth at least double that, at least, probably more, is because we live in a corrupt oligarchy and they pay those politicians to make sure that that minimum wage stays where it is. And I appreciate if you want the minimum wage raised and you're in Congress. I appreciate that. To me, that's bare minimum standard because you represent, the electorate, the people, and that's what the people want. So it's like, to me, that's bare minimum that you support that. Great. You should support it. Now, what are you going to do to get it? Are you willing to play hardball to get it? Are you willing to actually withhold your vote from your party to get it? Are you willing to go against your party loudly, vocally, out in public, make a stink, cause a ruckus? Are you willing to do that? Because if you're not, and you continue to just vote with those same people who are bought off and corrupted, and that's the reason they don't support it, well, I think for a lot of people it rings hollow. It rings hollow at this point because people are tired. People are tired of just sitting here and taking it. And they're tired of you signaling that you support it. No. They want you to actually support it by going all in and doing your job that people elected you to do. Not just by tweeting or just talking about it. Actually doing it. Steps. Moving forward. Moving legislation forward. People are tired. I'm tired. Americans are not so let's talk about paid vacation time. That's just the minimum wage. There's a lot of other workers' rights issues that need to be addressed in this country. Americans are not guaranteed paid vacation time. And while many U.S. workers receive 2 or 3 weeks of vacation, it still falls short of other developed nations. For example, workers in France are guaranteed 30 paid vacation days each year. That's what workers in France are getting. Workers in the European Union in total are legally guaranteed at least 20 paid vacation days per year, with some countries mandating 25 or even 30 more days. That's what they're getting. And that's paid vacation days. So they pay you to go on vacation. Why? Because it's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health. It's good for you to get away with your family and enjoy time with them. It's good to just enjoy life sometimes. And when you're working 40 hours a week every single day of every year, you can see what a precarious predicament your mental health will be in, especially if you're working for minimum wage and having to work 2 jobs, pay for your health care, get 30%, 35, whatever taken out of your check, even though you don't see any of that in taxes. And if you do see it in a pandemic, guess what? They're going to tax you back on it. Let's talk about paid sick days. The United States lags world in paid sick days for workers and families. The report finds that the United States is the only country that does not provide paid sick leave for a worker undergoing a 50-day cancer treatment. They don't even care if you got cancer. They don't care. You're not getting paid if you're not going to be here working this job. That's how they feel about you. One of only 3 countries that does not provide paid sick days for a worker missing 5 days of work due to the flu. And what more are we going to have to worry about in the future? We're finding out COVID-19. It's not going to go away. And you got to miss 2 weeks for that. And there's no laws protecting you against that. Not only are you not going to get paid for those sick days, money you need to help your family survive, especially since they don't want to give you more than $7.25 an hour. But I'm sure they can also probably fire you. I know a lot of major corporations do that with minimum wage workers. If there's no protections, what's going to stop them from doing that? What's going to stop them from just firing people if you end up getting COVID later on, after everything dies down, like the flu, and you got to miss work? What's going to happen then? Paid sick days and leave in 22 countries. Worker at median earnings. So a worker making a median wage. Luxembourg, they get 50 working days off. Same thing with Norway. Finland 48, Austria 45, Germany 44, Netherlands 35, Spain 33, Japan 28, Switzerland 15, Ireland 17, United States 0, none, 0. They don't care. We don't care about workers here. 0. And so if you care about this and you find yourself supporting the Democratic Party, are you going to ask them to do something about this? Put some, enact some legislation that's actually going to protect workers? Or are you just going to keep defending them until they lose and the Republicans are in office, and you're going to be mad that the Republicans are in office? And you're still going to be without any type of worker rights. No paid vacation days, no paid sick leave. And so, and we saw throughout this pandemic, workers lost $3.7 trillion in earnings during the pandemic. That's 1 year workers lost almost $4 trillion. Women and Gen Z saw the biggest losses. I know, Justin, come on, Justin, it was a pandemic. It's a pandemic. Everyone's losing money, right? Everyone's losing money. It's a pandemic. Oh, wait. U.S. billionaire wealth grows $1.3 trillion since the pandemic started. $1.3 trillion. Now, if you're out there celebrating Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, where do you think that money came from? You think it just came out of the ether? No, that came from you. That was extracted from you and your class of people and went to these people who already have more money than they could ever spend in multiple lifetimes. So when I truly question when we're going to start getting serious about, having things like Alabama, like what's going on in Alabama with the Amazon Union Drive. We need that, but we need that all over the country because they don't care. They don't care about you. They never will. Don't think, in 6 months, they're actually going to grow a heart. In the next reconciliation bill, Joe Manchin's not going to grow a heart and all of a sudden support a $15 minimum wage. That's not going to happen. These billionaires are going to continue to pay off these politicians, continue to get more and more and more money. It's never enough for them. That's how you get $200 billion. It's never enough. It's more you could ever spend in multiple lifetimes. Okay? So we need to get serious about this as a country, as a worker base. And if you didn't know how much you're getting screwed over before, well, I hope you know now. And when the next strike comes up or rally, protests for workers' rights, you join in. Because it's going to take a mass movement to change these things.